I'm going to show you how to make a paper mache ornament. What you'll need is a cookie mold, some paper, just regular printer paper or cardstock, whatever you have, a bowl, a strainer, a sponge or an old towel, and a blender. So what you'll do is just take the paper and rip it up. And once you have it all ripped up, you will fill it with water, and then you can either let that set overnight or you can actually cook it on the stove to break down the fibers. And so here's some that I let sit overnight, so the fibers in the paper are well broken down. So what I'll do now is pour the water and the soaked paper into the blender. And you always want a lot of water in comparison to how much paper you put in, because blenders are really not made to grind up paper. So you don't want to tax the motor by putting too much paper. You always want a lot of water in there. So I'm just going to blend it. Still a little clumpy, so I'm going to grind it. And what you'll do is take a strainer water out. So you're just going to let that drain a little bit and kind of move it around, get some more of the water out. But you want it to be pulpy. You don't want to squeeze it dry because you need it wet so it'll conform to the mold. And we'll wait for that to drain. So I've got my blended paper or paper pulp, and I just take some and pat it right into the mold. And as you can see, it's still very wet. But you're going to get enough paper pulp to fill up the mold, and then you'll start removing some water. And you can just kind of feel to see if you've got enough in there. And you can always add more. Take an old towel or a sponge and remove some water. And then what you're doing is you're really vibrating those fibers together so they're more of a pulp instead of just separate paper fibers. And I've tried to do it just pushing it in and removing water, but the texture of it is very lumpy when I do that. So I've learned just kind of pat it in there, and then I roll it away from the edge so it follows the shape of the mold. And just kind of do that. And remove some more water. Again, you can use just a towel or a washcloth. And see how wet that is. But just keep tapping away. And it really takes longer than what I'm doing here. It can take as long as 10 minutes to really tap it in there and get it away from the sides. And then if you see it seems to be not enough right there, so you might add some more. And then of course you'll want to get that water out as well. So, but that's the basic process. And then when you get enough water out, you don't want it to be very dry. You want it to stay somewhat wet, and then you're going to let it dry in the mold. So when it dries, you'll have your sheep. There's all kinds of fun molds. I have a rabbit, a flying pig, that's a lot of fun, a heart, and then you can also paint them. Here's a fun cat mold, and then I've painted it. And you can put a little ribbon on the back and make it an ornament. All kinds of fun things you can do. Here's a gingerbread mold. And you have your gingerbread man. So lots of fun ideas. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions.